Once you know what it is, chances are you'll start seeing it everywhere.
She's blue and she isn't what she seems. She's a mystery, a riddle, and a dream. Judging by appearance won't impress.
Once I got into Doctor Who, I started seeing TARDISes everywhere. And I don't just mean in stores, because there's plenty of them there. I mean in people's yards. People built TARDIses.
You'll always be surprised that she's bigger on the inside. She's seen the corners of the universe. She's seen days like the last and the first. There she is, blue and unassuming. In a moment, through the vortex, she'll be zooming. She's space and time, borderline divine. Leaves your world redefined. She's an enigmatic magic box, subtracting meaning from all clocks. You'll always be.
What is Doctor Who? In a nutshell, everything you could possibly want it to be.
Doctor Who is a huge piece of history. Doctor Who is basically the perfect meshing of everything in one wonderful, beautiful package. It's a great show. It's been on for 51 years now. Started as a kid's show, took a break for a while, came back and hit a huge resurgence with an American audience as well as across the globe. So like I said, it's just a huge piece of sci-fi television history.
Well, its primary function, it's a BBC science fiction television show that's been around for over 50 years. What it means is a lot more than just a television show, though.
As the story goes, in Doctor Who, the Doctor is a Time Lord who travels through time and space, and his police box, which is the TARDIS. And the TARDIS is iconic.
TARDIS is an acronym. It means time and relative dimension in space, and it is the time and space vessel that the Doctor travels in.
It's this blue box right here that is also a lamp, but it is essentially, to break it down, a time machine. Get inside of it, it's bigger on the inside. So don't think that there won't be room for you in there, because there is.
She's seen the corners of the universe. She's seen days like the last and the first. There she is, blue and unassuming. In a moment, through the vortex, she'll be zooming.
But the thing about the TARDIS that's really, really cool, if you think about it, is that it's a police box. It's always going to be a police box, except for one or two times in the show that the chameleon circuit actually worked, sort of. But the police box is special because that's where you run to call for help. And you can't get much better help than the Doctor.
it's such an icon. You know, it was an icon before Doctor Who. During World War II, the Met Box, the Metropolitan Police Box, became so incredibly important to the people of London because the terrible times they were going through, it was, you know, an icon of solace. You know, it was a place that they could run to.
Like I said, when I first started the show, I was in a weird place in my life. It was not a good weird either, like I enjoy regularly. It was a bad weird. It was a very bad weird place.
At one point in my life, I was having the worst time ever. And I'm not the only person to say this, but I know there's other people out there that the doctor was there when they needed them, him to be there, and he was. And mine was David Tennant, who I still have on my little watch here, if you can't tell, because he's my good luck charm. Literally the worst time of my life, when I had been diagnosed with cancer, the doctor showed up in the form of David Tennant.
I started watching at a really weird time in my life, and things weren't looking too good. I'd been in a funk for a while, unemployed for quite some time, and pretty much just had a really, really horrible outlook on life and disposition. And what the show brought me at that time was hope, you know, a reason to look for happiness out there. And I've kind of carried that with me from it ever since then. So that's kind of what it means to me. It's a reminder that happiness is there if you look for it, and that there's always hope.
Space and time, borderline divine, leaves your world redefined. She's an enigmatic magic box, subtracting meaning from all parts. You'll always be surprised that she's bigger on the inside.
As time went on, I really identified with the underlying currents of the show. It's not just a silly show. There's such serious meaning behind it. It's, you know, be yourself. Always stand up for what you believe in, even if nobody else agrees with you. Always do the right thing. That kind of stuff. Don't run. Run a lot. In Doctor Who, you run all the time, but not that kind of run. You don't run from your problems. You face them head on. You run towards them and you tackle them. You take them on. And there was the 50th anniversary episode where John Hurt is the war doctor. He's getting to the point where he has to seemingly destroy Gallifrey all over again. And he won't remember all the good that he's done or anything like that. But the TARDIS appears with David Tennant, Matt Smith, and Billie Piper's character, the moment. Looks at him, she's like, "Do you hear that? That's the sound of hope." And it makes me have so many feelings. But it's a good thing. It's, you know, all those big things, those big ideas, those big dreams that you have inside of technically a blue box, but really it's just inside of yourself, something that for me was something I needed. It came along right as I needed it, just like she always does.
In the nerd community, exportation of stuff from shows, either media or that's like movies or television or comic books, we want in our real lives. I mean, you see it a lot with cosplay. I mean, one of the closest way of getting contact to stuff is that you dress as a character because it makes you feel part of it. For the kind of bigger, crazier things, like you can't really build like the bridge of the Enterprise. You just can't do that. I mean, you have to have a huge like super RV garage or a warehouse or an airplane hangar, and then you have to be rich. But you can build a TARDIS and keep it in your backyard.
It's optimistic, and it's whimsical, and it's exciting. And personally, I like optimism and whimsy and excitement in my life.
I mean, really, it's sort of a glue that bonds people together. You know, as humans, we like to feel as if we relate to others, and these fandoms give us that opportunity to relate to other people.
Why build a TARDIS? Why do that?
At first, because I wanted a TARDIS. And then the second and third builds was because I wanted more than one TARDIS. People started to say, I want a TARDIS too. And so I built them for them at about the price of the materials.
I built a TARDIS because it is emblematic of Doctor Who. It's probably the most famous image. It's, of course, the image that's the logo for the show. It's the logo for the BBC sometimes. It's, you know, the de facto defining thing of Doctor Who that's not, say, a scarf or other kind of silly implement. But more importantly, it was a Christmas present for my wife. My wife loves Doctor Who. It was one of the things that we bonded over very early in our relationship. The first night, I really thought about asking her out on a date. I got the Doctor Who glowy message cube from the Neil Gaiman episode. It is emblematic of her as well. She likes the show a lot. It was been important in her life. So I thought I would get her a TARDIS because it is the kind of gift that you can't be trumped on.
I've made things out of wood for a very long time. And those things have always been a bit retro and a bit esoteric. You know, like a flamingo end table, you know, or an old-fashioned clock on the wall. The TARDIS lends itself so much to that throwback styling. I was such a fan of the television show, and I was so attracted by the shape and the aesthetics and the color of the TARDIS that I knew that I needed to build one.
It's awkward at first because really you start out with just a bunch of cut boards and it doesn't look like much. But once you start getting the walls put together and it starts taking shape, there's a sense of accomplishment. There's some pride to it.
With larger builds, the moment that the base is built and the corner posts go on is the first time you see, wow, this is big. It's the first time you know, because in small parts, it's small parts. But when you have a 4-foot wide base and an 8-foot tall corner posts, and in reality, that's still not full size, you realize, wow, this is big.
I think Doctor Who inspires us to do crazy things like building a 2-spec TARDIS. I think it does it because it touches a part of fandom or even just humanity in people that makes us dream bigger and wish for bigger things and try to better ourselves and do things for your fellow man.